Here at Aussie Mixed and Fixed iRacing League, we are pleased to announce 2 new sponsors will be joining us for 2021. Ceil batteries have come on board with over 70 years experience in forklift batteries, chargers and accessories. They are 100% Australian owned and operated with Australia's leading product warranty. Along with Sydney Computers, who are in the business of providing value-based options for your gaming PC requirements, which is tailored and specs to your needs and budget. If you'd like to know more about these companies, please check out the links in the description and be sure to support the companies that support us. We look forward to working with Ceil batteries and Sydney Computers for the rest of the year. So thank you, and we'll see you out on track.
Good evening and welcome to round 5 of the AMF GTE Series here on the AMF Facebook and YouTube page. Tonight we're here for round 6 of the season at Road Atlanta, and again thank you very much also for just taking a moment to have a listen and show your respects to our current and fallen defence men and women who do a fantastic job for this country and have so for many years. On Anzac Day, turning our attention to the race for our series sponsors who helped make it all happen, a very big thank you must go out to them, to Ceil Batteries, Sydney Computers, and A Moment in Sim Photography. as we said, we're here for round 6 at Road Atlanta, located in Breslin, Georgia. 45 minutes tonight, 1 mandatory pit stop, 12 turns, just over 4 kilometres. It's going to be a fantastic race to watch everyone work their way through, along with 2 splits tonight. Joining me in the commentary booth and also helping run the cameras tonight, a big welcome to Ryan Colstat. Ryan, welcome all aboard.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dan. As you touched on earlier, we wanted to show our respects to our former and current servicemen and women for Australia and everything that they've done for us. So that's our nice little way of saying thank you. As you said, to turn our attention to the racing, and we've got a great race here tonight at Road Atlanta. Road Atlanta always throws up some fantastic racing. The S's that are on screen now, especially, very, very hard to make a pass, but you'll see some great nose-to-tail action through there. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the drivers can give us, what kind of show they can give us tonight here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fantastic to see how they navigate their way through that. As we said before, 2 splits tonight, so 30 cars in split 1 tonight, 26 in our second, so fantastic turnout. All things considered, for the drivers and teams tonight who have come out to play. It is a very tricky circuit, this one, and over the past few seasons, and we have run here before, right, it's been really tricky, especially as we watch the guys working their way across the line. The off-track, it's ever-present around here. There's a lot of grass that circulates around the outside of this circuit, but throw into that a mix of undulation, some very tall curbs that the guys have got to negotiate. They're in for a tough time tonight.
Yeah, they are, especially at the end of the S's, coming onto that short straight there. It's very, very easy to get loose and have a big tank slapper and end up in the wall and have a very big crash. So the drivers can definitely have to be careful there. And then obviously the braking zone into the big chicane at the end of the very long straightaway. You have to be very, very careful, and it's a place where we are going to see drivers have a bit of a throw down the inside to see what they can to see where they can finish up there. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. I'm just going to fix the grid there. That's not quite showing. There we go. That's the proper grid. As we see Ross Rizzo take out pole with his teammate James Glasspool on the front row, and then we're going to mark on esports. Second row lockout with Tom Huggan and Timothy Phoeben, followed up by Michael Healy, who is for Trick Esports. I'm not sure why that's not showing up, and Chris Weitzel with a great showing there for Pulse Racing Team in 6th position. Adrian Block for OMR Esports in 7th, and Nathan Huppets for the first of the Fusion Sim Racing cars in 8th position. Ben Dow for Mark 1 Esports in 9th, and Trent Thomas rounding out the top 10 for Trick Esports. Scott Forsyth in 11th position, and Thomas Henry Kircher in 12th. Tyson Broad and Matt Morris in the next row. Scott Cisłowski for Trick Esports and Josh Bird for Fusion Sim Racing, followed up by Shane Chancellor and Adrian Lucitti. Joel Chigazavara and Jesse Butler rounding out the top 20, followed by Tom George. Lee Vandenberg fair way down the order, not kind of where I'd expect to see Lee Vandenberg, down in 22nd. Rob Bowden in 23rd, which is a great showing from Rob Bowden in the Tankett SRT entry. Lucas McAuliffe in 24th. Dale Bredd in 25th for XCM Cross Continental Motorsport. Bailey Frid, a late joiner to the series for Mark 1 Esports. He just joined this today. Pat Gallo for Mark 1 Esports in 27th. Dustin Fletcher in 28th as a privateer entry. And Kobe Laszlo rounding out our field of 29 cars for Mark 1 Esports in 29th. Alexander Bird and Adam Gardner, they're showing there as Trick Esports and Mark 1, but they are our stewards for the evening, and they will be in the Lamborghini safety car tonight.
Yeah, it's a really good sized grid that we've got as we see the guys working their way currently around on the formation lap at the moment. A few notable points that we're going to have to keep an eye on here, as we quickly touched on before. The run through turn 1, it's very wide, very fast. We expect to see some 2 and 3 wide action through there, but the guys really need to try and square that corner off as they run their way up through the hill. The turn 3, blind entry up over the hill there. It's claimed many people before it will continue to claim quite a few as the guys work their way through that. But you need to leverage all that curb trying to work your way through it. So it'll be tricky to see the guys filter through, especially on that opening lap. And then also, again, once the pit stops do cycle their way through, the run down the S's is absolutely fantastic as always, and a lot of curb and heartache for the guys to get through. But if you do make a mistake on the way out through there, especially down through turn 5, and we've seen it again before, the guys just catch that outside curb, hit the gravel, and it does tend to spit them out wide. The 6-7 complex that we saw just prior as the guys work their way down the back straight, very technical and really required to get the best run down the back straight, and then down here into 10A, 10B. The guys need a lot of speed as they about to head back up the hill and crest over the blind 11, pit stop entry to your left, and then the fast sweeper at the bottom of the hill. And as we watch the pace car just about get ready to pull away, it's the Trick Esport cars out front ahead of the Mach 1 cars just behind, and the green flag is waving. And it's fantastic stuff. All the guys down the back of the field as they come across the line, 2x2 formation. It's great to see.
Yeah, did you see the great formation stuff from the Trick Esports? Rizzo getting great jump there on James Glasspool, and the two Mark 1 Esports cars have followed in behind. Relatively clean start, although I have seen that there is a driver off in the background, so we have had a bit of an incident. We'll go back and have a look at that as soon as we get a chance.
Yeah, and I think one of those cars involved in that too might have been Dustin Fletcher in the Ferrari. He has fallen down a fair way. Actually, potentially even Josh Bird involved in that as well. I think Scott Forsyth also got caught up in that in the Aries Autosports car. So a few guys falling foul of the run up into turn 3 there. But as we keep an eye out front, Tim Phoeben, starting out at 4th, has managed to get himself up into the front of the race. He's gained 3 spots already, and he's now got ahead of Ross Rizzo.
He's absolutely flying up the front there, and I'm gonna get to see if we can get a bit of a run later on of that start there as we just wait for this first lap to settle down, and we see Rizzo going back at him into the chicane there and puts a lovely move on him. But Tim seems to have held it around the outside, and this is a brave place to hold it around the outside because you've really got to be committed through that corner, and he's made a lovely pass back there to gain that position. So yeah, Tim's looking like he's got a point to prove tonight.
Yeah, and this will be a really good circuit for the BMW, which does have a fair bit of low-down power, so these slower chicanes and that are really going to help, and the curb compliance is absolutely fantastic as we see him getting all over the curb at turn 3 there and just monstering that. But the car settled very, very nicely, and he's continuing to now extend a little bit of a margin. Rizzo will sit pretty comfortably there. We've seen that time and time again. He will start saving the fuel and crunching the numbers on what he needs to do.
See him get very, very loose on the end there, and that's what we were talking about all that up in the lead up of drivers getting loose, and so you've got to be very, very careful going through that section. And as we're just going to quickly jump back to the start and have a look at the incident that unfolded, and for some reason we're on nice and slow.
Well, keeping an eye on that. So it was the Aries Autosports car that we were just following there. Up over the crest of the hill there, actually just loses the back end of the Ford there, stuck in the middle of the road, trying not to do anything, and then gets catapulted by one of the Mach 1 cars and another one of the BMWs there in the end. So really unfortunate spot there for Scott Forsyth to be stuck in.
Yeah, unfortunate spot. Sorry, I'm not sure what's going on here. There we go. Let's go live, please.
As we come back up into the live pictures momentarily, the leading 5 cars, as we duck back to the live pictures now. So Rizzo, 2 tenths off the back here, and remember he was our winner last time out at the previous event. Just behind him, James Glasspool finished 3rd last time out, and then Danny Davison, who doesn't look like has been able to attend for tonight. That will be a little bit disappointing for him because he had a really good strong run coming back to AMF last time out. But out front, our leading 3 now starting to build a little bit of a buffer over Tom Huggan in the first of our Ferraris, the Mach 1 Esports cars, and Tim Phoeben doing a solid job out the front.
We'll jump back to a replay of Tim on his move. This is his move on Glasspool. As Glasspool got wide, and it looks like Rizzo had a moment going up through there too, which is how he managed to get in front. So a bit of a lucky moment there for Rizzo not to crash it, but also Phoeben to be able to get ahead of him.
Yeah, and then on the preceding lap after that, we saw both Rizzo and Glasspool again have a similar moment down in that turn 5 complex. So they're pushing hard. Tyres still yet to come up to temperature, but working their way through. A couple of big movers already further through the field. Pat Gallo gained 10 spots out there in the Mach 1 Esports Ferrari. Kobe Laszlo, who we saw come off the back of the grid tonight, has gained 11 spots. So those guys have done a fantastic job early on. Also, Dale Britt up 10 spots from where he started. So a few guys taking advantage of the cold conditions to get out there and pressing on quite nicely. As we have a look back here at Trent Thomas, who's working on the back of the OMR Esports Corvette, this time in the hands of Adrian Vlock. And a little different to see for Vlock, who has been very synonymous with driving the Ford GT, switching over to the C8.
Yeah, he's been in the Ford quite a lot, so it's interesting to see him in the C8. And we'll see how this BMW fares compared to the Corvette down the back straight here.
Yeah, it's the run down into 10A, 10B, into the chicane there. And for Thomas, just holds the racing line, doesn't need to have a look at a move yet. And he's going to get a nice drive out there off the exit. He does have to keep an eye because Thomas Coach is not that far behind. Nathan Huppert, who was touched on last week, switched over from the C8 over to the BMW. So a few guys really getting on board with different cars this season, which is great to see a little bit of a change. But Huppert's having a very strong run so far, up 2 spots in the 6th position, and he's now on the back of Michael Healy in the Trek Esports Ford GT.
He's pushing quite hard. He's chasing down Chris Weitzel in the Pulse Racing Tar Ford GT there. So it'll be interesting to see the BMW's pace compared to the Ford in the straight line. So I think the BMW's definitely going to have it in these slower sections here as we see Huppert slowly catch him up, especially into this section here. But will it be able to keep with the Ford in a straight line? The Ford, as we all know, is an absolute bullet in the straight line. So it'll be interesting to see if the BMW can beat it in the tow, or if it's just going to hold station. It doesn't seem to be really catching here, as you see the Ford just has the legs over the BMW.
Yeah, the BMW just struggling a little bit, but massively gains under the brakes into 10A. That's a great move there from Huppert, who's very strong in this car since switching over. We did also see too, there was a change of position just behind these guys with Trent Thomas now getting ahead of Adrian Vlock as well. So moves continuing on, and actually Vlock's lost another spot there to one of the Mach 1 cars. I think that's Henry Kircher has now managed to get himself involved in that little exchange as well. So some good fights going up and down the field. We also do have one sole Porsche out there tonight, which is great to see someone still having a campaign in the Porsche that's in the hands of Rob Bowden tonight, down in 21st position. The Tank SRT gained a couple of spots already, but he is now up against Matt Morris in the Ford GT. I mean, Morris has been very strong this season as well, another campaigner that switched cars from the Ferrari to the Ford, and we've already seen him up on the podium this season.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised to see him up on the podium. Maybe not in this race, but again, sometime this season. He's shown some great pace this year, and it's great to see him back having a great run.
Absolutely, as we watch these guys work their way through 6 up into 7, thinking about a move there for Kozlowski behind, but he will need to settle in. He might be able to get a good opportunity down the back straight as the guys head up towards 10A. We'll see whether he's able to make a move. But as a check as some of these scenic cams on Vlock involved in a moment there, he's just been rotated around. I think that might have been, let's try and look for the car involved in that, maybe Henry Kircher involved in that one, or Ben Dow.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get another look at that one. Actually, we've got that now. Yeah, not 100% sure what's happened there. It might have been turned, might not. We'll wait to see what the stewards think of that one.
Yeah, it looks like that car involved in that was the 937, so it was Ben Dow involved in that one. So, as you say, we'll wait to see what the race control have to say on that one. But no doubt they'll be keeping a fair eye on that. Just also a quick reminder too, for anyone interested in jumping into the season or the championship, to come have a run. It'd be great to see you out there as we watch this battle with Weitzel and Hupperts and Healy continuing on. Links to the AMF Discord and sign in, all provided in the description of the YouTube channel, also going out on Facebook tonight, which is great to see. for anyone who would love to come on, not only is there the GTEs that you can come and run, but also GT3, as well as an endurance, once a month endurance, which is we've seen some fantastic racing. Last time out at Sebring was a great showing from all involved. But this fight here, as we turn attention back to the GTEs, between Huppets, Healy and Trent Thomas, really starting to heat up as the guys now work their way down through turn 12. And the exit through 12, very tricky because it's a minimal lift as you tip the car in. But if you make a little bit of a blunder or just get that curb slightly askew, the grass is waiting on the outside to flick you straight off into the wall.
Yeah, it is, and it's very, very easy to get yourself caught up and into a very bad position. As we see him file down through the S's, and Huppets has managed to get the move done on Weitzel there, and now Weitzel's got Healy breathing all over the back of him, and Trent Thomas isn't too far down the road either.
No, not at all. As we continue watching the guys work their way around, I'm surprised at just how far the field has spread in the opening 8 laps. We saw a fantastic getaway from everyone involved, with the exception of that little rotation for Scott Forsyth on the top of turn 3. But the field has really started to spread out very early on. Hopefully that'll come back together as the pit stops tend to cycle their way through. But we'll wait to see for that. And for anyone else also interested in why the cars do have some different mirrors involved on them, some new updates that AMF brought out in the rulebook just to help identify the cars and also helps the drivers identify, as you see Ben Dowd getting not quite close enough to get the move done on Joel Chikavara there into 10A, just to help identify these cars. So if you've noticed the purple mirrors on Ben Dowd as he comes down into the lane denotes our professional or our elite drivers. The orange on the wing mirrors, the green on the wing mirrors is our professional drivers. Orange is our amateurs and red is our rookies, and a great little initiative there just to help identify the cars that everyone's racing against, as well as a little bit of a bumper indicator just for those guys as they close in. Track conditions looking very good at the moment, 23 degrees out there, it's 21 degrees ambient, so nice and cool for these cars, and grip will be at an absolute premium right now.
Yeah, the weather's very, very cool. I think it's quite overcast, and they're going to have grip for days, so these guys are going to be able to push these cars to the maximum.
And that's a little different too from what we saw in qualifying just in the previous session prior to race, the last qualifying session, 33 degrees, so the cars would have been a little bit slipperier for the guys out there, and as a result we're already seeing the pace well and truly down as our leading guys now down in the 115s. Purple last time by too for James Glasspool, quickest car out there, a 115.354, so he is flying in the Ford as he now tries to get back up to his teammate.
Well, they definitely are flying because the conditions that we saw in qualifying, the fast pole time was a 16 flat, so they're going, well, Glasspool's 7/10 quicker than the pole time, so they're really flying out there.
Definitely, we'll keep an eye on that because obviously that's going to come into thought later on with how much fuel the guy's going to be using, because obviously, as I say, like, it's not, qualifying times were about a second and a half slower. We're seeing a lot more pace from these guys. Not as much drafting as we would have expected either, as we ride on the back of Nathan Huppets with Chris Weitzel there closing in down through 6 and 7. The Weitzel actually gets a fantastic run as Huppets just overcooks it a fraction there, but should be able to hold station, although this will allow Weitzel with the power of that Ford to come back at him and maybe a run down in 10-8 because it's closing in with the draft.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a fantastic run here, but whether he's just decided to save fuel or it's run out of legs, I'm not quite sure. It looked like he had a great run and then just pulled it out. He must be trying to save some fuel and try and jump Nathan in the pit stop.
Yeah, and we've already seen a few guys now come down the lane just to complete those earlier stops, as we see Weitzel monstering that turn 12 curve there. And for the few cars that have already come down the lane, first is Michael Healy, here now down in 22nd position. Lee Vandenberg's come through, Bailey Frid, Ben Dale, who we saw come down the lane, and obviously we're still waiting the adjudication on that rotation with Adrian Vlock. Scott Sosowski, Scott Forsyth, who got a huge amount of damage early on, he's come through along with Adrian Lechty. So quite a few guys getting their early stops. Jesse Butler now, Shane Chancellor for the Aries Autosports team coming in as well. So the pit stops are starting to come. It's a little bit earlier than what we would have expected, however.
Yeah, don't normally expect to see pit stops in 13 minutes into the race, especially on a track that's this small. It's very hard to get it's very easy to get monstered by the leading pack and go down a lap, and you really don't want that to happen in this series, because we do run quite strict blue flag rules. They're not quite as bad as Formula 1, but the drivers must yield when it's safe to do so with a blue flag driver all over them. So you really don't want to go a lap down in this series.
Not at all. Just having a look too on our track map, looks like there was an incident for Matt Morris and a couple of other guys down through the S's. Not sure whether we can have a look potentially at what unfolded there, but there are a few guys that dropped quite heavily down at the bottom just before the run into turn 6. So here's a look on board with Morris, and he's dropped it over the top of turn 3 and then just comes back out on circuit.
It's very unfortunate.
And actually there's a couple more cars going off at the bottom, one of the Fusion
yes.
cars, and I think that might have been one of the XCM cars involved in that as well.
And we just note from race control there, car 937 causing collision with car 740, lap 6, turn 10. So 937, just trying to find who 937 is.
Well, that's Ben Dow, so I'm assuming that's the contact that we saw there
with Adrian Vlock.
Adrian Vlock, correct.
Yep, so that'll be a drive-through penalty for Ben Dow, being classified as an accidental penalty, so just the minimal penalty applied with a drive-through penalty. And for our viewers, the drivers cannot serve their mandatory pit stop when they've been issued a penalty, so they must serve their penalty, must drive through the lane, and then they were able to serve their mandatory stop after that.
Yeah, and for Ben down there, he actually came in a couple of laps ago to complete his first and only pit stop for the night. So once he clears this off, he's good to go to the checker. Those cars that were involved in that Matt Morris spin and then subsequent contact have also come in the lane. It was Dale Breed involved in that. We did see one of the Fords, actually, I don't think the second Ford in that has come through, Josh Burden there, and Morris also in the lane. So we'll see how those guys continue on their fight. But back up front, the battle for the top step of the podium is massively heating up right now, with Feeman still holding off the charge from Ross Rizzo and James Glasspool closing in. The two Trick Esport cars are ready to pounce here as they turn in through turn 7, get the draft down onto the back straight. They have got a little bit of lap traffic to contend with as well, so that's going to spice this one up. That train of cars ahead, that involves Ben Dowell and Scott Forsyth and Adrian Lecty in that lot as well. So I don't see they'll be impeding this much, but as Rizzo flies down into 10, not quite close enough to get that move done under brakes.
No, but again, are we seeing Rizzo do his standard Rizzo tactic of just tuck in as close as I possibly can, do the lap times? I know I've got my teammate behind me, so it's not like I've got to push too hard with him behind me, as he goes for a move around the outside actually, which is actually very, very possible at this track, and you see it quite a lot because it gives you the inside run into the chicane here. But unfortunately, or fortunately for Tim, he's managed to hold him off, and they're going to continue to go side by side here through the old nose to tail here through the S's.
Yeah, and we have seen quite a few guys in previous events there as Feeman runs very wide through turn 5, where they've tried that outside move through 1, hasn't paid off for them, and they get just a tyre up on the grass, and it's night, and the race done effectively there as you fire off into the wall. So they'll keep an eye on that one as we have a look here at the fight between Rob Bowden and Pat Gallo. They've really started to come forward through the field, as there obviously have been a few pit stops to go, but each in their own right having a very good run here, with Bowden doing a fantastic job in the one and only Porsche out there today, who I'm secretly rooting for to get a very good position.
Yeah, me too. The Porsche's had a bit of a tough run of it, and it's great to see a Porsche up in the top split and up in the top 15, so he's having a fantastic run there.
Definitely, and I kind of thought maybe this would have been one of those circuits that did suit the Porsche a little more, especially with the slow corners through 7, where the rear engine would really help for the traction, and then as the guys come down into this turn 10A, 10B complex, as we just right on board here, again, will help with the traction, but just not quite there tonight. And although at the moment he's all over the back end of Pat Gallo in that Mach 1 car as they fire down through turn 12, so he's not that far out of having a go. And just judging by the lap times as the guys crossed the line, they were almost identical that time through, as 900ths of a second in favour of Pat Gallo there, but nothing separating them.
No, nothing separating. And these two have been going at it all race, and Chris and Huppets are I think they're just going to be locked together for this race. They're destined to fight each other all the way to the checkered flag.
Well, and that's not a bad thing, because I mean, we've seen these guys have some very strong fights over previous championships, and we know Nathan Huppets has come exceptionally close to taking top honours only a couple of seasons ago. It was only due to an unfortunate hardware issue, I think internet connection at the time, that robbed him of the potential championship. But I mean, he is a very tough customer to pass, and just places that car expertly to where he needs. We see them fire their way through 12.
James Glasspool has managed to jump ahead of Rizzo. I don't know if that's a team tactic or not. Glasspool's maybe said, "Hey, I've got the pace to jump Phoeben here. Give me a crack at him," or maybe Rizzo's made a mistake. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just going to file through and see if I can find the replay of it so we can have a look.
Yeah, well, we keep an eye on that. We did see one of the Mach 1 cars there just pulling off to the side. I think that was Ben Dow, just allowing the leading trio to continue on. I think Ryan might have found this one. Here's a look at the move, and it appears down into 10A. So Glasspool with a nice run. Actually, Rizzo giving him the opportunity there to come through on the racing line, just stepping aside. So a little bit of team tactics in this one by the looks of it.
Yeah, like I said, it might have been Glasspool saying, "Hey, I've got pace and I'm stuck behind you. Give me a crack." And he does have pace, because he's now all over Phoeben.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye to see who in this trio of cars decides to blink first, because they're hitting about now where they would consider the traditional pit window for our 45-minute sprint races here at AMF. And for Glasspool now, they've actually got a little bit of a margin over Rizzo, who no doubt is already thinking about saving the fuel. It has been since the start of this race, but Glasspool is in striking distance to come up through turn 3, take a lot of curb there. They've got Scott Forsyth, and there is Autosports car just ahead of them down the lane, and they should be able to get past him down through the back straight. Not too far off that leading trio. Tom Huggan, we haven't really spoken a lot of him, did start on the second row, but really hasn't let these guys get that far ahead of him.
No, he hasn't. I think he's about a second and a half off the back of Rizzo, so it's not like he's out of contention. You see him just come into frame there. So he's still a chance, as we see the guys past the Medina entry there, Scott Forsyth.
Yeah, a very smart heads-up driving there from Scott. Not needing to get involved in a battle that really doesn't concern him at the moment, just allowing these guys to continue on their fight. Glasspool now down the inside. We'll see whether he's able to pull this car up into 10A. Not quite there, and actually loses a little bit of momentum on the mid-corner, switch to 10B there, and that now promotes Rizzo back into having a look. So we'll see how this one unfolds, but Glasspool starting to already make the intentions clear. He's looking for an opportunity to get through.
Yeah, he stuck the nose down there, and thinking he might have been a little bit stronger under brakes, but Tim Phoeben incredibly strong there under brakes and able to hold him out.
Yeah, if you watch him again float through 3 there, Phoeben taking a huge amount of curb trying to get that car over it, and the BMW just soaks it up very, very nicely as they fire down here through to 5. We'll watch the exit to see how they go. Everyone using that little bit of curb on the exit. Glasspool picked up a little bit of gravel too. That gave the car a slight little kick as they head up in towards 6. And they got a fair bit of clear track ahead. You can see on the timing and scoring track map there, no one in close proximity to them as they work their way now out through 7 and onto that back straight. Phoeben, though, does have a little bit of a reprieve following that last lap attack from Glasspool now. Yeah,
Glasspool's dropped off a little bit now. He's half a second behind him, but he does have the tow, and he's going to close right back up again, so it's very, very hard to break away at this track.
Definitely. Well, I'm going to throw to you now, right? I'm going to get you to put your racer hat on. If you were in this position, would you be considering coming down the lane now to try an undercut option?
I definitely would in these conditions. With the big gap that they've got on the track there, I would. Mainly because that stationary 10 odd seconds that we're seeing in these 45-minute races, that's 10 seconds of letting your tyres cool down. So your tyres, when you come out, will be nice and cold. You'll be able to really put the hammer down and just put a really good outlap in. And if you can nail those sectors in the outlap, you're going to have a fantastic jump on the driver in front who stayed out on the hotter tyres. So I think the undercut's definitely on at this track in these weather conditions.
Absolutely. I'll be interested to see this time through who decides to blink as Glasspool now gets the nose in for even missing the apex there at 7. This is the chance that Glasspool needed. He's got to take the opportunity as it's presented himself. Phoeben has just parked that Mach 1 BMW right in the middle of course. So if you're going to go around, you go the long way. And he's with Glasspool there, got the drive. He should make this move stick as they head down. Ross Rizzo also considering a look in as well. Don't know whether he's going to get a chance at this one, but Glasspool now does move himself up into the lead of the race. That was a fantastic move and well-timed execution of that one.
It really was, and look, Rizzo's done exactly what I said, and if I was Glasspool, I would have pulled in there too, especially if my teammate was going in. You're both going to come out together and be able to have the tow together, so you watch, once the pit stops finishes, you watch and see if Rizzo jumps these guys, because he probably, well, as we know, he would have been fuel saving behind these guys while they're having a bit of a duel. But Glasspool's already managed to pull half a second on Tim Phoeben, so he's clearly got some pace under the belt there tonight.
Well, definitely. I was almost going to say, do we start to see a little bit of team tactics come in? Does Glasspool attempt to try and back Phoeben up a little bit to allow Rizzo in? I'll be interested to keep an eye on these pit stop times. So for Rizzo, stationary was 11.8 second stop, and he is now transited an exit to back out on circuit. That dropped him to 13th position, so it was 38 seconds total transit time for him there.
I think Glasspool's too much of a competitor to do that. I think in his own right, especially being a new member of the team, I think he wants to show his own pace and show that he has what it takes to take the fight to these guys, Rizzo included, in this series. And I think he'd really like to put a stamp on it and come out with a W tonight. So I don't think he's going to be slowing up. I think he's going to have the foot firmly planted and he's going to go real hard tonight.
Yeah, it looks that way, and both of them continue on for another lap at this time, as Trent Thomas now has closed right up on the back of Nathan Huppert. This is a battle for 4th position on track at the moment, the two dueling BMWs from Trick Esports and Fusion Sim Racing. Nothing separating these guys last time as they got across the line there, but Trent has moved up quite nicely since getting through on Chris Weitzel, and that gap now down to 0.2 of a second as they work their way up through the top of the hill.
Yeah, Trent's really going to pressure him here through the S's, and I'd say he's probably going to either hold off and have a look down at the end of the back straight, or he might even try and have a look through the Degners up here, but I don't think he's going to be close enough into the Degners, but I think he'll be setting everything up to get a good run down that back straight.
Definitely, and just as we were watching on board with Trent Thomas there, Nathan Huppert's taking a lot of curb on the exit of 5. They're just trying to maximise the speed on exit and just holding himself up. But he has gained a little bit of an advantage now as they work their way down the back straight. So they should defend or keep that defence open for him as they work their way through. Wait to see how that one goes.
Yeah, he's. I think he got a good enough exit to be able to hold station unless Trent's mighty under brakes here, which I think he's too far back to have a go, and he clearly was, and he's decided to tuck in and keep moving, and we'll see if either one of these drivers blinks, and yeah, Trent Thomas has decided enough's enough, and I'm going to come in for some fuel.
Yeah, good move there. And actually, we didn't really touch on it just prior to race start, but the pit entry here is very tricky for these guys to get right because it is downhill off turn 11. There is a little slight kink in there, and you've got the grass just on your outside left that you really need to get as close as possible to try and fire into the lane and minimise the transit time where possible there. So in its own right is very tough for these guys to do. As we have a look at Adrian Vlock, who we saw earlier on in the race, unfortunately did get rotation. He's now dropping in the lane to come and complete his stop tonight. But he's had a good solid drive back up through the field and a lot of work left for him to do. As we have a look back at our leading fight, the gap 0.5 of a second in favour of Glasspool. So he has been able to manage and maintain that gap as we see these guys working on lap 22. A little bit of traffic just on the exit up the hill, so not quite close enough, but will this be the time at which we see either of these two now blink and come down the lane to complete their stops tonight?
I think it's going to be definitely close, and yeah, they both come in now. It had to have been close. It had to have been time very soon. Tom Huggins followed in too, and Nathan Huppert's, I think we're going to see everybody slowly file in. We'll jump back to Weitzel and see what happens with him. So we're going to jump onto Rizzo, and we'll bring up the track map, and we're just going to see, as we see him coming down to the chicane here, and all our drivers stationary in pit lane, we'll just see exactly how he fares after this pit stop series is finished. Glasspool, I think, is still up on jacks. So Glasspool's down and away, and this will be very, very, very tight. But I think Glasspool's got him. Glasspool's clearly shown some great pace, but Rizzo has jumped Phoeben on the exit, so we're Glasspool showing some phenomenal pace here tonight and managing to jump his teammate. Not only pass him on track, but gain a healthy gap in the pit stop phase too, a 1.4 second gap.
Yeah, and a lot of that actually came too from the stationary time. We're looking at for Glasspool, it was an 11.8 stationary stop time for him, whereas Phoeben was a 12.6. I did think Phoeben actually gained a little bit on the entry to pit lane, so I'm a little bit surprised to see the gap extend the way that it did as they filtered back out on circuit. But Rizzo took he's taken a gamble because he did the same effective pit stop time that Glasspool did as they came through. A little bit slower with the run-in on the pit stop limiter, but almost identical stationary times for those guys. So he was saving a fair bit of fuel by the looks of it, and has managed to come out just in front with 0.3 advantage over Phoeben, as Glasspool continuing to press on down through turn 12 to start what is lap 24 for him. As they come across the line, he's now got a 1.5 second advantage over his teammate Ross Rizzo, who in turn has a 0.3 advantage over Tim Phoeben. Huggin, a little bit of a loser in that one, has dropped off these guys a little bit substantially. The gap now at 2.8 seconds. And then Nathan Huppets and Trent Thomas will continue their fight, although Huppets did gain a slight advantage. The gap between himself and Thomas now at to 1.2 seconds. So it's a bit of an ebb and flow, which we traditionally see, depending on how these guys can save their fuel and tyres over the course of these earlier runs.
Yeah, and look, I think that'll be the teller come the end of this race. Is Ross been saving his tyres, or has Glasspool just got the outright pace over him today?
Yeah, well, if you're looking at it on this page at the moment, I mean, we saw our best lap tonight go to James Glasspool. He set a very respectable 1:15.35 early on in the race there. He had a bit over 0.2 advantage over his teammate, which is no mean feat. We know how quick Rizzo is in these cars. I mean, he's been campaigning forward now for 3 consecutive seasons here. And for Glasspool to step in and get as accustomed to it as he has, and I know we were talking about it a little bit off camera last time, Rohan, that Glasspool has been getting a lot of help from Ross Rizzo. He's really adapted exceptionally well to this car now.
Yeah, he really has. I think him jumping into Trek Esports, he's clearly the calibre of driver in that team that really helps Glasspool improve his craft, and it's evident to see here with the performance he's putting on tonight, and not only that, but the performance he put in last week and the last couple of weeks. Like he's really been flying out there on track, and a podium last week, and he's on for a podium again tonight. So yeah, he's doing really, really well.
Well, definitely. I mean, we saw him third last time out. He's in chance here to jump second altogether and go straight to the top of the dice if he's able to hold it off. We've got a little bit of time left for him to do that, though, just on 13 and a half minutes to complete this one. But he's looking very fine form as we see him closing in on a little bit of lap traffic. Might duck a bit further down, see if we've got any battles on at the moment. Bailey Fribb closing up on the back of Joel Chikafara. It's a battle for the top 10, so 10th position at the moment, with Joel just managing to hold on to this one. And then further down in the field, down in 22nd, the recovering Scott Forsyth, who we saw in that opening lap 1 incident, closing in on Josh Burton, who was involved in his own little incident, which didn't bring out a safety car as everyone was able to get away, but he had a big contact with Dale Britt as Matt Morris found himself sideways on the track as they went down through the SSS. So these guys really recovering quite nicely.
Yeah, they have recovered quite nicely, and unfortunately, by the looks of it, Chris Weitzel's had a bit of a moment, and he's slowly falling down the order, and it looks like it's going to be where we touched on earlier on in the piece, and it's so easy to get the rear end loose and light up over there, and yeah, that's very unfortunate, but it's a very, very easy incident to have happen here at Road Atlanta.
It is, but we must give him credit. He really tried to hold on to that car, because I mean, traditionally you'd see a lot of guys, the minute they get to the gravel, it'd kick it sideways and straight off into the wall. So he was able to try and wrestle that car a fair way down the road before it ultimately did come to a conclusion on the wall. But Unfortunate run there for him, and I don't know whether he was able to get that car back into the lane to try and get it repaired, but if he has, be good to see whether he's able to complete the run there. But back up front, the battle's still raging on. Rizzo has taken a little bit of time now out of James Glasspool, as James was now getting those back markers there, but that is now bringing Phoeben back into this fight as well. The gap between himself and Rizzo, 0.6 of a second. Actually, Rizzo has gained just a small advantage on the traffic there, so just proving his mastery of getting through there. But Phoeben has not let go of this one and trying to get himself back up at least a second, if not back into the lead.
Look, knowing Phoeben definitely will not let it go, and he will push all the way to the end, and he's going to chase these trick boys down. He showed great pace early on in the race, and the BMW clearly was the much better car on cold tyres. Remains to be seen how he goes, but yeah, he's pushing very, very hard, and he's going to keep these trick boys honest tonight.
He sure is, and this circuit has been really good for all these manufacturers at the moment. I mean, I believe we spoke on it at the very end of last week's show. It's a little moment there for Glasspool, and he's actually going to lose the position there, and actually going to lose 2 positions and a slowdown for his troubles there. Drops him to 3rd, and Rizzo now able to get through. Phoeben opportunistic, trying to come through on both of them over the top of the hill there. Does have to settle for 2nd place, but this fight back on again.
Yeah, it's back on, but Glasspool's back up to speed again, and he's shown that he's got pace, so he's going to be back up all over Phoeben very, very quickly, and this is going to go to the end, I'd say.
Absolutely, and I can imagine Rizzo's already just in there, just trying to calm him down, tell him to get back into his rhythm and press on, and he's already taking time back out of Tim Phoeben again as the guys work their way down, up over the S's, then back down again towards turn 6. He's taken a 10th out of him just on this half a lap alone, so that little mistake hasn't hurt him too much. He was very quick to get that slowdown removed and back underway, but this is going to be a fantastic fight as these guys continue on. I was just going to go back to that point we were saying before, where just before we concluded last week's event, we were saying that the Ford was very dominant around the circuit, but the BMW has been the surprise package tonight, being able to hold station with them.
Yeah, the BMW has been very, very fast, and I think that's where we've got to give credit to our in-house AMF Stig, who makes all of these fixed setups for us, and he's done a phenomenal job of levelling these cars out as much as he possibly can, because generally speaking, in the officials, you come to this track and the Fords they run away with it. So for the BMW to be so closely matched, it's a phenomenal job from the Stig, and every season he does a fantastic job for us.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen some fantastic battling right throughout the championship, not only this season, but also over the past few seasons as well. The racing's been as fierce as any. Next weekend's going to be an interesting one as well. We're still in the 45-minute sprint cycle, but we're off to Barcelona, Circuit de Catalunya. That'll be another great circuit, a little bit longer, which I think probably going to suit the Ford and the Ferrari a little bit more there. Not sure how the BMW, the C8 or the Porsche are going to handle that one.
Yeah, look, the BMW might struggle a little bit there. We are running the historic layout too, so we're not going to have that silly chicane at the end of the track. They're going to be able to go flat out all the way around that corner, and again, probably going to suit the Ford and the Ferrari going through that corner. And you'll really see the Ford stretch its legs down that massive long straight after the big sweeper.
Yeah, and I think just with how long the way that circuit runs as we continue watching this fight here, especially as you come out through the first chicane up sort of the hill and around turn 2, where we saw Grosjean have a big moment there a couple of seasons ago in the Haas F1 car, where it's very easy to lose the back end. For the BMW, it's going to really hurt the tyres around that location. I mean, a very heavy car trying to maintain a long radius right-hand corner. It's be interesting to see whether anyone maybe even tries to throw a tyre at the end of these cars.
I'm not sure if they'll throw a tyre. The tyres take the best part of 30 seconds. I think that's just too much time to lose in such a short race. But what we are going to see is we're going to see some very hot temperatures, because the race is run at noon. So if iRacing gives us, we do run full dynamic weather for these race scenarios. If iRacing does throw a clear sky to us at noon, we're going to see some very, very hot tracks there at Barcelona, track temps there at Barcelona. So yeah, it will be very interesting to see just what iRacing gives us and how the cars handle it.
Absolutely. And just keeping an eye too down in the field. We've still got a few battles still raging on as we continue to look at our leading three maintain their fight. But Jesse Butler and Joel Chikavaro getting in and amongst it at the moment as well, down in through turn 7. Good recovery for Jesse. He's gained 9 spots. Actually, both these drivers, Joel and Jesse, have both gained 9 spots from where they started. So a great run for both of these cars as they continue on. Chris Weitzel has managed to get himself back underway following that big incident, so was able to get the car back in pit lane, took the quick repair, and now he's got Rob Bowden just ahead of him in the Tank SRT Porsche. Bowden gained 8 spots. Unfortunately for Weitzel, has dropped 10 positions as a result of that coming together at the exit of turn 5 and with the wall there. So, but great to see him being able to continue on. Further back, Trent Thomas has now He's dropped a fair way back off Nathan Huppert's, which we saw these guys in a fantastic fight just prior to their pit stops for both of them. But Trent now got his teammate Michael Healy closing in, and the trick cars looking pretty comfortable back here in the 6th and 7th positions. May be able to pick up 5th if there is an issue for Huppert's, but I mean, we know how strong and consistent Huppert is. He should be able to continue on. But back up front though, Tim Feeben continuing to pull that gap down to 0.3 of a second as these guys fight their way down into turn 10A. And a nice little braking move there for Feeben, because closes the gap marginally. They have now dropped James Glasspool off, which is a surprise given the pace that we saw from Glasspool up until that little moment through 10A, 10B about 4 laps ago. He's now 1.3 seconds behind these guys.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what I touched on earlier on, is has James used up all his tyres early on, trying to make that move early and really push hard to get the gap so that he came out in front of Tim after the pit stop phase, and it looks like he has, and unfortunately now his tyres are clearly a little bit shot and he just doesn't have the pace to keep with these guys now.
And that's very unfortunate for him, because he was looking very, very strong with both of these guys as they continue on. They've built themselves a very handy margin, the top 3 over our 4th place car, Thomas Huggin. Is looking very good since having made the switch to Mach 1 Esports at the start of the season, and pressing on quite nicely there. We did also see a little further change just between the teammates of Healy and Thomas as well, with Michael Healy being able to sneak past Trent there, and that now puts himself up into 6th position. But this battle at front is where it's at, as Feeben again sticks the nose down the inside. It's going to make it very tight for Rizzo to hold that line there. And Rizzo already defensive, so come back up over the hill there. And Feeben is really making the intentions clear. He's going to make Rizzo work to hold on to this one.
Yeah, he really is. I think you might even see Feeben go for a move around the outside here. No, Rizzo really, really deep under brakes there. But yeah, Feeben's definitely going to push Rizzo to the end here. And, maybe the Ford's not holding its tyres quite as well as the BMW here, because the BMW seems very, very racy here with about 3.5 minutes to go.
Well, yeah, it does, and I'm just having a quick look through our lap timing for the last time by for all of our drivers, and both Feeben and Rizzo, the pace has dropped off considerably to what we saw earlier on. We're about 1.2 seconds off our optimal pace that we saw running at the start of this event, and that now is bringing James Glasspool back in. He was just shy of a second quicker than Ross Rizzo the last circuit around, so we're going to have another fight for 3 here again as we drop in under the 4 minutes to go. We're almost at 3 minutes to go in this one, so we're expecting another maybe 3 laps at the current pace that we're going at. But Rizzo is going to be very cautious here as Feeben again closes back in, not quite close enough to get the move done, but he is dynamite under brakes there. Just makes a little bit of a lock-up as he gets to the critical point there on turn-in, and that now has released Rizzo, sorry, but Glasspool now is back on the tail of Tim Feeben as a result of that little contact.
Yeah, I think these guys are just going to ebb and flow all the way to the end. All 3 drivers are in their rights and very, very fast here, and I think all 3 of them really, really want to win this race and prove a point to each other. So I'm really looking forward to the end of this race. I think it's going to be an absolute cracking final couple of minutes.
Absolutely. We're just having a look too on the track map. I don't think we're going to get any involvement from any of our lap cars as the guys continue to work their way around. They've got a nice little bit of a cushion as they head up towards turn 6. We may just get to the back of 4th place at the very end of this race, but we'll wait to see on that. But for our top 3, they are really in a league of their own at the moment. The gap over 4th, and I mean Tom Huggins, no slouch at all, just fallen away a little bit here as we see a purple sector time for Tim Feeben. So he's still pressing on with the life in that car. And wait to see what he's able to do again as they head up towards 10A. Will he have another look? He's a fraction far back at this time, and although we said that on the last tour, he got very close as he snagged that break and just holding off at the moment. The sector time's looking very, very good for these guys. Phoeben, you can see down the bottom there, quicker through sectors 2 and 3. Glasspool very fast through that final sector of the race.
Yeah, you're going to be able to throw a blanket over these crossing the final line. As you see Phoeben there do the fastest lap of the race just then. These guys are absolutely flying and just giving it everything they've got with, I would say they're going to go around one more time, but I'm not 100% sure. We haven't seen the white flag come out as of yet.
No, and I was just going to say, I mean, that's a cracking lap from Phoeben on what we think is almost the third to last lap of the event. To pull that time out when we were only a lap or two ago, just seeing the guys back in the 16s, he's done enough to cool those tyres off and get himself back into contention as Rizzo makes a moment there, or makes an error on the 10 to turn 7, missing the apex completely. That brings Rizzo back right into contention with the power of the the BMW, sorry. He's going to be able to get the nose down the front and we'll see whether Rizzo tries to hold this one out as they work their way down into 10A. It's side-by-side drag race for both of these guys. They come down the crest. Rizzo sticks in there. He's not going to make it easy for him. Holds the line and holds on to first position as Tim Phoeben now slots back into the tow. And that was a great move from both of those guys.
It really was, and the pace that they've been setting here, I wonder if the guys have actually got enough fuel to get to the end, because 5 seconds crossing the line there to the end of the race, they're going around for another lap, so we might see this whole order up and down the field really change for these guys that have really pushed the fuel to get home, and these guys just setting out absolutely cracking pace at the start here as you see Glasspool really drop off quite dramatically there, so he might be in a little bit of trouble with fuel as well.
Well, I don't think it's quite fuel at this point. He did make a moment there just on the exit of 3 as they got onto the curves. He caught a little bit of the road on the dirt on the outside and snapped the car left, but he's now pulled out of this fight. He's going to leave Phoeben and his teammate Rizzo to contend this one. Rizzo with a better line there through the final time through turn 7 there. He's still got 0.6 of a second gap. I don't think that's quite enough there for Phoeben to close it down with the power of that BMW, and Rizzo should be able to hold this one. We'll continue to look back at these guys. So we're having a look off the nose here at Phoeben down towards the braking zone again, see whether he's able to close it up as they come back under brakes for the final time into 10A. Not quite close enough to get that one done. A very strong drive for Rizzo, who's now only got one final corner left to get through. It's turn 12, the fast sweeper there, and he is going to come across the line as we see the flag wave to claim the winner here. Round 6 out of Tim Phoeben. James Glasspool brings home third position for Trick Esports. And Tom Hagen across the line there in fourth for the Mach 1 Esports team. Nathan Huppets gets across the line. Trent Thomas, Michael Healy continue their little fight at the end of this race. But Ryan, that was a fantastic battle up and down throughout the field.
Oh, absolutely phenomenal battle. The rest of the field, but the podium there of Rizzo, Phoeben and Glasspool, that was absolutely phenomenal racing, and yeah, they deserve everything. That podium was fantastic, and all three of them should be really proud. I can tell you that both Phoeben and Glasspool were probably going to be a little bit dirty on themselves for not being able to hold that one out, but they should be really proud of what they've done there, because that was a phenomenal race.
Absolutely. Looks like there's still one more battle going on with Pat Go. I don't know if we'll get a chance to check that one out. He's 3/10 off, trying to make a move there on Vlok, and I think Vlok has managed to hold that position as the guys got across the line. So that was a great... Actually, Gallo got ahead there, or held off the 0.3 of a second advantage over for Gallo there. So that was a great fight for those guys to finish out the race. As we see now, everyone has got across the line to complete round 6 tonight.
Yeah, and what a fantastic race it was, and congratulations to all the drivers. And well, what do you say to a race like that? Like, the absolute fantastic finish from the guys, and they were nose to tail for the whole race. So, yeah, absolutely phenomenal race.
Absolutely, and at this point you go back, stick it back on the replay and watch it all over again. But to go over our round results for tonight's event here at Road Atlanta, Ross Rizzo for Trick Esports takes another victory ahead of Tim Phoeben for the Mach 1 Esports team. James Glasspool rounds out our podium in third position, and that's back-to-back thirds for him for Trick Esports. Tom Hagen with a little bit of a quiet race towards the to end of the event there for him. Gets home in 4th ahead of Nathan Huppets in 5th position for Fusion Sim Racing. Trent Thomas in 6th tonight ahead of his teammate Michael Healy for Trick Esports. It's a good job for those guys. Henry Thomas Kircher leads a couple more of the Mach 1 cars home ahead of Bailey Frid there in 8th and 9th position. Scott Sazowski gets into the top 10. Joel Chikavara held off 11th ahead of Jesse Butler. Todd George in 13th tonight. Kobe Laszlo, fantastic drive for him from the back of the grid up into 14th. Chris Weitzel, we saw have a few issues down at the exit of turn 5 there, was able to get the car repaired and back home in 15th position. Rob Bowden, another strong drive for him with the Ceil Porsche out on the field there in 16th. Adrian Vlock recovered nicely into 17th. Pat Gallo into 18th position. We'll just cycle down through the remainder there. We'll bring up the last few spots with Josh Burden coming home in 19th position. Scott Forsyth in 20th, who we saw have that earlier lap 1 incident. He was able to recover it, but unfortunately 1 lap down for him. Adrian Lecty in 21st. Lucas McAuliffe in 22nd. Shan Chancellor, 23rd tonight. Justin Fletcher in 24th. Matt Morris did have that huge contact at the top of the hill there. Unfortunately, did retire, and that saw him in 25th. Dale Breed was involved in that one as well. He retired in 26th. Ben Dow in 27th position tonight, and it was a strong drive there from all of these guys. It looks like we do have our podium standing by, so we might bring our winner in, Ross Rizzo, as we wait for that to come through, and we'll have a chat on how things unfolded for him. Actually, while we wait for that, we will again quickly thank our series sponsors who have been absolutely sensational, helping out the championship for AMF. And with that in mind, it is Ceil Batteries who have come on as round sponsor, championship title sponsors. Sydney Computers and A Moment in Cinematography have been fantastic on board. Joining us now in the commentary booth, Ross Rizzo. Ross, mate, you're making a habit of this once again, this championship, but it was a very hotly contested fight for you here with both your teammate James Glasspool and Tim Phoeben. You guys had a standout fight throughout the entirety of this 45-minute event.
Yeah, it was a brilliant race, very clean battling, but on my behalf it was very messy. I mean, nearly put it in the fence lap 1, and then just felt like I couldn't get on top of the Ford for the entirety of the race. So I just felt like I was kind of driving on eggshells for the whole race, and that's where Tim in the Beamer was really capitalising. It looks like he could put it wherever he wanted to, and I was really surprised at how quick the BMW was. I thought it was going to be pretty hopeless around here, especially against something as good as the Ford. But Tim made it absolutely work a treat, and we were running similar pace at the front, so I reverted to fuel saving, and then once the car tried to kill me again, just let Jimmy have a crack at it, and he absolutely capitalised on the opportunity. But then unfortunately came a cropper when it looked like it was starting to look pretty good. So shame for Jimmy, and big congrats to Tim.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, and talk us through it, we did see the couple of moments that both yourself and James had through turn 5 there in the Ford, where it just seemed to get away from you. You guys really did well to hold on to that, because I mean, we did see a few cars later on in the event have a few issues there, but we noticed, we didn't see your second mistake that happened early on where James got through. We thought that might have been a little bit of a team strategy just to allow James to come through, because he looked very, very quick in this and comfortable in this car tonight.
It was a team strat like what McLaren did at Imola over the Grand Prix, but that was just after I had another near miss. So at that point he had a run, so we just decided to let him have a crack at it, because I just could not seem to get into the groove. I was getting pretty agitated, and it was just strange out of turn 5, because during practice the car felt fine. It was we were pushing it really hard to try and see where the mistakes were going to happen, and the car just looked really, really solid. And then immediately bit us on lap 1 first time through there, so kind of scratching our heads the entire race, trying to how we meant to pull away if we can't use the full potential of the car. And even when felt like we got it right, Tim was right there, so it just made no sense how he was keeping up, and how we're taking so much risk and not really getting any pace out of the car. So it just didn't make sense. So I think I was certainly lucky to get away with the win, and Jimmy very unlucky not to take his first W tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and turning our attention forward next week, we're off to Circuit de Barcelona, off to Catalonia, another great GP circuit. A little bit longer in length than what we've seen tonight with these cars, and I think they'll be right at home going around there. I mean, for anyone who saw ELMS last weekend, those cars look very, very nice out on circuit. For yourself and for the team, what are your thoughts going forward into that one?
Look, it's a cool track, but it's very difficult to pass on, so strategy might come into play again. But yeah, we'll wait and see. We last had an enduro there, and it was strategy play made turn the race on its head. So it'll be the shorter format, and I kind of expect it to kind of be the same, if not some kind of procession. So we'll see how it all goes. But yeah, typically very difficult track to pass at.
Definitely, mate. But look, another great drive for yourself there. Admittedly, as you say, you had a few little issues along the way, but you worked your way through them and come home with another victory and, again, top marks and points for the championship. But before we let you go and celebrate another victory, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout-out and thanks to?
Shout out to the series sponsors, Sydney Computers, Ceil Batteries, if I pronounced that correctly, and A Moment in... what's the photo company again?
Sim Photography.
Sim Photography. Thank you so much for the great photos, and to the guys at Trick Esports, Trick Custom Fabrications, and Pro Sim Gear.
Fantastic, mate. Again, congratulations on a hard-fought victory tonight, and we'll look forward to catching up with you hopefully again next week out at Catalonia.
Thanks very much, guys.
And that was Ross Rizzo, round winner tonight in second place, and now joining us in the commentary booth we have Tim Feeman, who's sitting along with Ryan Colsett.
Congratulations on second place tonight, Tim. It looks like you had that BMW absolutely wound up to 100%, and you were giving it everything you had to those trick boys tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, it's good to be back in here for a change. But look, it was an awesome race. It's just such intense racing around Road Atlanta because you just don't get a break. Lots of bumps, lots of turns, and no real breather. So yeah, it was super intense, and it was good to actually sort of be running up the front and battling with those guys.
You've shown the pace all season. I think you've just struggled to. I think luck's been your biggest factor, and just struggled to put a really good race together. And when you do, you've really pushed Rizzo and Glasspool all the way to the end, as we saw. And I'd noticed at the start that you absolutely had a flying start, and you managed to jump both of the trick cars and get out to a really good lead. What was your strategy once you got into the front there?
The start went well. I sort of jumped Tom, and he was pretty friendly to me going to T1, so that was good. And then it was a bit of a Stephen Bradbury moment, I think, coming out of, turn 5, the bumpy left-hander, only just at the start of the race. But I think, they both had a few moments, and just the doors opened up. But I wasn't sure how it was going to go, because I think second lap, Ross came whizzing past me down the back straight in the toe, so I was like, oh god, they're going to be really quick. But the Beamer seemed pretty good out of the turn onto the back straight. It sort of has good puts its power down well, so I think that's where it was just holding its own, getting out of there, and then the Ford wasn't getting too much of a tow. So just tried to stay in front as much as I could and not make mistakes. So that was really the plan, but couldn't quite get there.
No, you look like you definitely had them under brakes into the chicane though. Like the BMW seems like it's got a much better brake package, or yourself has got a much better brake pedal than these guys in front, because you seemed like you could really close the gap coming into the chicane down the back straight.
I think it's just like one of those traits of the BMW. It's really good at trail braking, so you sort of could carry the brake all the way across that first left-hand curb, and and it's puts its power down well. So up the hill as well, you could run it, nice and wide all the way out to the curb. So I had one opportunity there to have a go at Rizzo. I think I was on the inside and then sort of let him go through, and it compromised his exit a little bit. He just, as I was coming up the hill, he just sort of moved right over and covered me off. So that was probably as close as it got. But it was an unreal race.
No, well, congratulations on second place, and it's good to see you have a bit of luck and have a good race out there. Before we let you go, is there anybody you wanted to thank for tonight?
No, just thanks to you guys for running the series. It's mega as always, and yeah, thanks to the Mark 1 boys, and yeah, no, looking forward to next week now. So we'll see you then.
No worries, Tim. Congratulations again on second place. And we will now switch to third place of James Glasspool, and Daniel will have a chat with James now.
Thanks, Ryan. James, great drive out there for yourself, mate. Fantastic effort. Didn't quite come to fruition to get the victory tonight, but mate, you were thereabouts throughout the entirety of the race. How was it for you?
Frustrating. Probably that is the simplest way to sum it up. I think the fact that Ross and I survived lap 1, given that we both had pretty significant mistakes, I was happy just to get going again with that, which obviously gave Tim the chance to get past us both. And then, yeah, to make that, Ross and I talked about just in the race, we said, all right, one of us should probably undercut. So Ross made that call. And yeah, worked out well for me, but then just obviously made that massive mistake coming into the chicane and threw the lead away. But that's all right. It's racing, I guess.
Well, it is, but I mean, you come a long way in this car. I mean, we were only talking about it during the race where it was P3 for your last time out. You're right on the cusp there of getting the win tonight. The work that you guys are putting in behind the scenes really starting to pay dividends at the moment. I mean, you look to be maybe just a fraction quicker than what Ross Rizzler was out there tonight. I mean, that's no easy feat in its own right.
Well, that's the highest compliment you can get. I'm really comfortable with this track, and yeah, the car I think is I think the Beamer was actually surprisingly good tonight. But yeah, we knew the Ford was going to be really strong here. And just this again, I think this is still one of my favourite tracks to drive. Just to get it all hooked up, and there's still so much time to be found because you can always make heaps of mistakes. But that's all right. Next week, where are we off to? Barcelona, so it's not a bad track either. But we'll see how that goes around there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is one of those circuits, especially as you say, down through on an opening lap, cold tyres, trying to get the run down through the S's and avoid that terrible curb on the exit of 5, which both yourself, Rizzo, I think might have got not only lap 1 but also lap 2. I think we saw on the replay was a little bit touch and go for you there. Is very tricky, especially in these cars. I think next week, as you said, we're off to Barcelona. It will be a very good change for everyone there. While there is a little bit of circuit undulation, not quite as bad as what we saw here tonight. I think these cars are going to suit it exceptionally well. How do you think you're likely to go around there?
I have no idea. I haven't driven Barcelona in a very long time, so I'll load it up this week at some point and start cutting some laps with the other guys. I think I do like the track, so it's just because of even though it's a relatively simple layout, there's buckets of time to be found. Hopefully a bit of work this week. I'll be up around the mark again next week.
Absolutely, mate. We'll definitely look forward to seeing how yourself and the team take to the challenge of Barcelona next week. Before we let you go and enjoy another podium finish, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'd just like to thank Trick Esports and Trick Fabrication and Pro Symbia for bringing us in each week. I'd also like to thank AMF and you guys for running the series and the race control as well for all the stuff that you guys do behind the scenes. So it doesn't go unappreciated each week when everyone's able to come out here on a Sunday night and drive virtual race cars around for a bit of fun.
Absolutely, mate. No, congratulations on another standout drive tonight. Hopefully it'll be either another step or 2 steps up on the podium for yourself next time out at Barcelona. But, mate, congratulations on third tonight and all the best.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
And that was James Glasspool rounding out our podium tonight. Right, as the guys were saying, interesting to hear their thoughts on next week. As I say, we're off to Barcelona, another great circuit, a little bit challenging in its own right, a very different driving style to what we saw tonight here. It's very flat, flowing circuit, a little bit of undulation, especially through the middle portion of the lap there. We're expecting anything different with the cars, do we think? Maybe the Ford still holding in there and maybe a good challenge for the Ferrari potentially?
I think the Ferrari's definitely going to be a challenge. I expect to see Tom Huggan probably a little bit closer to the Fords. But Rizzo, Phoeben, and Glasspool, clearly they are in a class of their own at this point in the season, and they're absolutely flying. But I think the Ferrari definitely will come into its own at Barcelona. So yeah, expect to see Tom Huggan maybe just a little bit closer up there in the fight, and maybe even able to stick his nose in there and give a little bit of strategy to the Mark 1 boys and see if they can really take this fight to those two trick esports drivers.
Absolutely, and as we now click over the halfway point of the championship, we'll set our sights forward to what will be another great race next time out at Circuit de Barcelona in Catalonia, Spain. It will be a fantastic event nonetheless. Again, thank you to the championship sponsors who have been fantastic in supporting the series, or not only this series, but quite a few of the AMF series in Ceil Batteries, Sydney Computers, and for the Sunday Night GT Series, A Moment in Sim Photography. Just a reminder that if you are looking to come on board and have a race with all the guys here, links are in the description of the YouTube channel. Again, you can also jump onto the AMF Facebook page or website. It would be great to see you guys out there having a run. And if GT3 isn't your thing, there is plenty of other series to have a look at with the GT3s on a Wednesday night, along with 4-hour endurance championship once a month, which is fantastic to see for both the prototypes, GT3 and GTE. For all of us here at AMF, again, thank you very much to Ryan, pulling double duties again on both production and commentary. It was great to have you on board, mate. For myself, Ryan, and again, big thank you for everyone who tuned in for the minute silence at the start of this one, just showing all your respects for our past and present defencemen and women. It was great to see the support for that. And to sign us out tonight, thank you very much, and lest we forget.